You want to hear about the time a stubborn rancher like me took on a whole HOA and somehow, God help me, ended up a local legend instead of a cautionary tale? All right, buckle up, because if you'd told me a year ago I'd be internet famous for yanking a gate out of the dirt, I'd have called you crazier than a January calf. Here's how it started. Imagine you wake up one morning, look out over your land, your sweat, your calluses, your goddamn name on the deed, and realize someone's decided to declare war over a strip of dirt you've been driving since before they ever thought of moving to Montana. Now imagine their leader is a woman named Karen, with a blazer so stiff you could hang drywall on it and an attitude like she invented the word entitled. That's what I was up against. Name's Dan Horsby, 45, thick-headed, and more comfortable talking to cows than people. I run cattle on 260 acres just west of the kind of subdivision that's all beige vinyl and matching mailboxes. You know the type. I used to be a forest ranger, but these days I mostly mend fences and mind my own business. Or I tried to before the HOA decided my road was their shortcut to paradise. Back when they built Beaver Summit, I figured they'd leave me alone. Suburbanites with tiny dogs, 0 cents, and more rules than common sense. What's the worst they could do? Turns out the answer is a hell of a lot. My dirt road Old 12B cuts through the edge of my property. Been mine since '93, gravel laid by my dad and his poker buddies and officially recorded at the county. But to the HOA, it looked like a scenic jogging path, apparently open season for minivans, bikes, even the odd picnic. At first it was joggers waving like we were neighbors. Then it was families parking in my hayfields, blasting music, letting their kids chase cattle. Honest to God, one day, I caught a group setting up an inflatable pool right next to the fence line. Music so loud even the hawks steered clear. But the day it really blew up, that was the morning my bull hammerjack got buzzed by some idiot kid with a drone. 2 teens shrieking on my side of the fence, drone zipping over a 2,000-pound animal who didn't ask for any of it. Hammerjack panicked, snapped a wire, clipped a kid's leg. Could have been a lot worse, but I patched him up while his friend called for an ambulance. You'd think after that the HOA would apologize, maybe bake me a pie. Hell, I'd have settled for a thank you. Instead, here comes Karen and Greg Miller, parents of the kid, storming up my driveway screaming about unsafe livestock and irresponsible landowners. They told me I should have built a taller fence, as if signs and common sense weren't enough. I asked what part of private property do not enter confused them. They stared at me like I was speaking Sanskrit. I'd posted signs, confronted trespassers, done everything short of putting up a moat. But after the bull incident, I was done playing nice. My lawyer helped me sue the Millers for trespass. Judge sided with me, said the kid was lucky Hammerjack was in a good mood. Got $15,000 for my trouble. I thought that'd be the end of it. Instead, it was just opening day. Retaliation came quick. Mailbox smashed, chicken guts dumped on my driveway, dirty looks whenever I drove past the subdivision. The HOA started naming me in their meeting minutes, painting me as the villain keeping nature from the people. But I'd been around long enough to know when you push back against folks who aren't used to hearing no, they don't sulk, they scheme. Enter Karen Oldridge, the HOA president, Queen Bee Clipboard General self-appointed ruler of Beaver Summit. If I'd known how petty she could get, I might have laughed. But the next thing I know, I'm heading out for feed and find a brand new shiny metal gate blocking my road. No warning, no phone call, just concrete cameras, a keypad, and a sign that said, Beaver Summit HOA residents only. Violators will be prosecuted. For a second, I just sat there, coffee gone cold, not even mad, just gobsmacked, like I'd walked into my own house and found strangers eating my cereal. My name's on that road, and these folks decided it was theirs. That's when I called Earl. Earl Blevins' guy's got 3 fingers missing, still fixes engines faster than anyone in 2 counties. He showed up with his backhoe, a cooler of beer, and a look that said, let's make some noise. I looped a chain around the gate. Earl fired up his machine, and together we yanked that thing out like pulling a tooth. Spray-painted illegal obstruction removed. Next one gets burned. Filmed the whole thing, posted it online under land defense, figuring maybe a handful of ranchers would laugh. By sundown, it had 10,000 views. By midnight, 60,000. Somebody slapped it on TikTok, and suddenly I was getting emails from folks across the country. Some wanted to put my face on a t-shirt. Others asked me on their podcast to talk about the rural rebellion. Wasn't my style, but hey, sometimes you just gotta let people talk. Next morning, I drove by where the gate used to be fresh tire tracks, 2 SUVs from the HOA, just sitting there not daring to cross. For a minute, it felt good. Like I'd won. But you ever get that itch between your shoulder blades when you know the storm isn't over? That's what I felt. Karen was just getting started. 3 days of silence. Then a letter showed up hand-delivered in an envelope that smelled like lemon and ego. HOA was threatening lawsuits for destruction of community property harassment, even weaponizing agricultural machinery. Cute? The real kicker. They'd filed an appeal with the county to reclassify my road as a public easement, claimed it had been used by the neighborhood for 5 years, which would mean the county could take it. I called Lily my attorney. She's 5 foot nothing, sharp as a box cutter and meaner than a rattlesnake if you cross her. They're not trying to sue you, Dan, she said after hearing them out. They're trying to take your road. My jaw nearly cracked. The HOA had filed to make 12B a public road using some legal loophole about continuous public use. While I was still steaming, I found a 5-gallon can of used motor oil leaking into my creek. EPA showed up within hours. Agents with clipboards, questions, and a look that said, "We know this was planted." And sure enough, the timing lined up: first the gate, then the legal shenanigans, now this. They weren't just blocking me. They were trying to make my land look toxic, so the county would step in. I couldn't sleep that night. Not out of fear, just the slow burn anger you get when you know someone's playing chess with your life and you're fresh out of pawns. By dawn, I'd made a plan. I cleaned up the oil setup, every camera I owned, and called Simon, a young journalist who'd filmed small-town corruption before. I told him the HOA's coming for my road. You want to see how ugly this gets. He showed up that afternoon with a drone, eyes bright. Together, we set up motion cameras, mapped out sightlines. Then I baited the trap, sent a message to Karen through the HOA's portal thanks to a neighbor with a grudge and an extra login. Let's talk. I'm willing to compromise if you're reasonable. Invited her to the old grain shed, well within view of every camera. Karen pulled up alone, Escalade, shining sunglasses and blazer, looking like she was heading to a Senate hearing. I sat on a hay bale pretending to be tired. She came in all ice and condescension, told me I was only making things worse. The EPA report was sticking, and soon my land wouldn't matter because public interest always wins. When she leaned in and muttered, "Next time it won't be oil in your creek, it'll be a land surveyor with a court order," I just pointed to the open door. "You're being recorded, Karen." Her face went whiter than a snowdrift. She stormed out, drone humming overhead, no more threats. Simon edited the footage, highlighted every threat, every smug line. Posted it as HOA. President threatens rancher on tape. It blew up overnight. Local news, Twitter hashtags, county board suddenly putting a pause on the public road hearing. State representative even tweeted about private property rights. Suddenly, Karen was nowhere to be found. But people like her don't just slink away. They regroup and they come back with paperwork. A week later, the HOA sued me in civil court for destroying community infrastructure, demanded $32,000 and a ban on me touching my own road. Lily countersued, trespass, defamation, fraudulent land permits, the works. She even called in Clint, an ex-county records guy turned freelance researcher, to dig for dirt. Clint found the smoking gun. The HOA's permit for the gate included a signature from a land surveyor named Daniel Cook, a man who'd been dead 2 years before the permit was filed. And the signature didn't match the official record anyway. Lily filed for an emergency hearing, added fraud charges. Then Clint found something even juicier, an illegal water line running from the HOA's sprinklers across my property, no permit, no easement. They'd been stealing my water too. I cut that pipe myself, capped it, and tagged it. Unauthorized utility. Access revoked. 3 lawns turned brown overnight. Never saw SUVs peel out of a subdivision so fast. Court day came. Place was packed. HOA board in their best business casual. Karen strutting like she was running for governor. Judge was a no-nonsense guy who looked like he'd heard every excuse under the sun. When Karen's lawyer rattled off the charges, property destruction, intimidation with farm equipment, I actually snorted. Lily stood up, calm as ever, and dropped a folder on the bench. Deeds, maps, affidavits, the whole forensic breakdown. County surveyor testified that the permit was fake. Forensic expert confirmed the signature was forged, and Karen herself had filled out part of the paperwork. Then Lily played the footage of me and Earl ripping out the gate. The judge laughed. You film this? He asked. Figured I'd need proof, I said. After lunch, the judge dropped the hammer. HOA's claims dismissed, my countersuit accepted. He called for criminal investigation into fraud, environmental tampering, and misappropriation of community funds. Karen's face went slack, the rest of the board looking like they'd just lost the Super Bowl. Weeks later, the EPA cleared my land, no contamination. The county confirmed 12B was private. Karen was charged with forgery, misuse of HOA funds, unauthorized construction, and attempted property theft. When the insurance didn't cover it all, the rest came straight out of HOA dues. Every resident got to pay for Karen's crusade. Her mugshot made the bulletin board captioned, "Your dues at work." I got my road back, my land, my peace. Earl and I sat on lawn chairs by the new sign, "Trespassers will be recorded, reported, and sued into the dirt." Underneath, we've done it before. We watched the sun go down, beer cold in hand, not a single minivan in sight. 6 months have passed. Beaver Summit looks quieter, maybe not wiser, but definitely sobered up. HOA board is volunteer only now. Karen took a plea deal, got 4 years, 2 suspended, banned from any leadership role for life. Didn't show up for her sentencing. Some battles you win by fighting others, just by surviving. I used the money to fix up the ranch, sent a donation to the fire fund in Karen's name. Even mailed her a thank you card with a photo of my green fields. Folks stop by, take pictures with the new sign, joke about making it the state motto. Simon's channel blew up. Even the lawyers say I made case law, and the road stays quiet now. No trespassers. Just me, the dust, and the sky. Sometimes I think about that line someone scratched onto a stone and left by the fence, "Respect the line." I kept it, set it by the porch. So, what did I learn after all that? It's not that fences make you mean. Fences make you free. They give you room to breathe, to fight for what's yours, and to remind the world there's a line you just don't cross. I'm no folk hero, just a man who held his ground. But here's a question for you. When does defending what's yours turn into something bigger? Maybe even something we all owe each other? Is justice just the law? Or is it standing up? Even when everyone says you should sit down, I'd love to hear your take. Drop a comment. Tell me your story. Where's your line? And who do you become when someone tries to cross it?